All right, everybody, welcome to the last Newsdesk on the left. I am your host, Matt Colladin, and I'll let the crew introduce themselves.
Hello.
Throwing us off here.
I'm like, well, I mean, you wanted an introduction.
Hey, I'm glad somebody spoke. That was concerning for like a minute there. I was just like, hold the breath, don't say anything.
Speak, dumbasses.
See, I was afraid that if I tried to speak before Adam spoke, that I'd end up cutting him off.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
It's a thing, bro. It is a thing.
This is the Galax. I'm trying to catch Meltans in Pokemon Go.
Kevin?
Kevin Decreasing here, and can we stop this nonsense and let Georgia be the center of the political universe already, please? I'm tired of hearing about New York and California and all these other places. Come to Georgia, damn it!
I just love the fact that they're only, it's so flagrantly transparent what the Trump administration is doing.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're only targeting swing states that are close. It's like, if there's widespread voter fraud, why are you not targeting all 50 states?
But actually that's not that anymore. It's actually not just specifically swing states. It's cities within swing states that are majority black.
Because of course.
This is the greatest thing ever.
Yes, it is. It's not just about the swing states anymore. It's about these minority majority pretty much cities. Detroit, Milwaukee, Philadelphia, Las Vegas, Nevada, Atlanta.
I mean, Nevada is still basically one city, but okay, no, that's a lie. It's two cities.
Yeah.
Hey, don't be dissing Reno and Carson City and those other places I can't think of.
Let's be fair. Nevada's pretty much Vegas and then Reno recently, but yeah, that's it. But basically, what the Trump is doing now is pretty much exposing the whole game. It's that black people stole this election from Trump. That is going to be the new talking point.
While possibly accurate, is that's how voting works.
Well, I was going to point out. While we were in this topic, I was going to have somebody find a graphic of Loeffler's post on what the hell is that social media?
Tyler, I don't know if that's real though.
Conservatives, huh?
I don't know if that post is a real post though. I've heard some people say that that's a Photoshop screen cap, which apparently is easy to do with Parler posts. So
Parler, that's the name.
You can do with Twitter too.
Well,
yeah,
I was still going to reference it because, I mean, in and of itself, the statement seems harmless enough. It's just, I'm so attuned now to listening for dog whistles.
I mean, yeah, even though it is fake, it does seem to be somewhat in the reality of what's freaking going on right now.
Yeah, it's like, oh my God, a black Democrat mobilized black Democrats. Shame! Ring the bell! Ring the bell.
Or more to the point, a black city voted for the candidate who wasn't an out and about racist.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to disavow those votes in favor of votes from the rest of Wayne County, which is actually predominantly white.
Quickly, before we dive too much further deeper into this, let's not forget that we also have Twilight winner Teddy Fan here. They didn't get a chance to sound off before we went off.
Right.
Yeah, I'm here. So having survived the first few days of the holiday rush at work.
Right.
And of course, there's Thanksgiving next week.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Now, speaking of this, did everybody hear this? That basically Walmart and other retail establishments now are doing Black Friday in 4 phases?
I mean, it's not surprising.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, do you want scenes of typical Black Friday this year? I don't think so.
Were people getting crushed to death by a stampede?
Yeah, we can't have stampedes in a pandemic period, no.
No. I mean, because that would also distract from all the fake recounts and everything else.
Well, on the other hand, it's like at this point both of them are getting equal time now because we're now in a worse place than we were in April now.
Yeah.
Because people decided that they wanted to go. People decided that I don't care about COVID anymore. If I die, I die. Which is selfish as hell, but hey, America is a selfish country, so what do you expect?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Join
So,
us this
yeah.
Christmas. Join us this Christmas when we're gonna have 2,500 dead a day. Because it's going to
Yeah.
happen now.
Well,
Because-
I mean, for once, the worst thing happening to the holidays won't be the Mariah Carey Christmas album.
Oh, that's still gonna be a thing this year. Believe me.
No, but it won't be the worst thing.
Oh, you
Yeah.
know, all those War on Christmas people are going to say, you know what? We're not getting enough of that Mariah Carey song. Let's
I'm
put
sorry.
loudspeakers on the roofs of our cars and drive around towns.
I was trying to be edgy and I failed.
You know, it's still something. Ah,
Reorganized the office today, so I'm just like, bleh.
anyhow.
So yeah, so Leffler and Purdue, that's his name. Fuck
Yeah,
these people.
that's right.
You know, it's like one of the things that amused me about this was that had the Parlor post actually been true,
Mm-hmm.
it's like beyond that, the Republican strategy here is that they want all of this pot stirred up
Mm.
because they want Donald Trump to feel good enough to campaign for them. And I'm like, I don't know, man. I like people who win elections
Yeah.
to
thing-
campaign for my runoff.
The thing is that his people are loyal to him. I have no idea why. I've never understood the fact that people bought his garbage, but people have bought his garbage and more people voted for him this year than 4 years ago. Wasn't enough to win, but more people voted for him. That's just the simple fact.
But let's
They're
think about
loyal
this.
to him.
Right, but let's think about this for a second. If Trump's loyalists did show up, then Loeffler was actually losing by several percentage points, even with all these extra candidates siphoning off votes that drove him into the runoff.
Well, I'll push back on that in noting that neither Loeffler nor Collins were doing any fire towards Warnock or any Democrat. They were sniping at each other. It was basically Warnock was doing his own thing, trying to consolidate the Democratic vote. He did that. Meanwhile, the two Republicans were just sniping at each other, saying, "I'm more conservative than you." That's not a thing anymore. So
Okay.
it's like, it wasn't a typical, like, Loeffler was doing ads against Warnock or Collins was doing ads against Warnock. No, it was Loeffler. I'm more conservative than Attila the Hun. I'm close to Trump. I'm a real conservative. Collins, Doug Collins, the other guy was like, Loeffler's lying about me. I'm a conservative too. Yada 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 yada. That's what the ads were basically for. Meanwhile, Warnock was over there going, "I'm here. I'm the Democrat. I'm here. I'm the Democrat." So it's like, and then only towards later on was Warnock starting to do ads against Kelly because everybody was expecting Kelly to win, and she did. So, but it wasn't. Now it's like a situation where I don't even know what the heck's going to happen, honestly, because Doug and Kelly are over here doing things about stolen. The Republican Secretary of State on here is terrible, should go. And at the same time, they're starting to do oppo dumps because, of course, they are. And I don't know who's going to be coming out because, again, you still got COVID going on, and now it's getting worse. And you don't know how Trump people are going to react to all of this election because the chances are probably now guaranteed that Georgia's going to be certified within the next week. So it's like you don't know what they're going to think. I mean, Trump has already endorsed those two anyway, so it's not like he hasn't endorsed them that they can put on television and say Trump's endorsed me, So it's like
Ads are actually pretty fucking hilarious.
yeah, it is, but
his new ones are pretty funny about I eat pizza with a fork and knife, and I once stepped on a crack, and I hate puppies.
That was basically the, hey, the lies are coming, and the lies have indeed coming. To the point of, hey, how dare you say on the pulpit what Jesus Christ said about not serving two masters?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, basically, they're trying to, go after him for not being, a conservative Christian, basically, and saying a lot of things on the pulpit that you expect from the pastor of Ebenezer Baptist Church. But it's like, I don't know what the hell's gonna happen down here, because I didn't expect Joe Biden would get anywhere close to double-digit 1,000 votes in the state, and he has. So it's like, this is a different Georgia than it was the last time we had runoffs here. This is a completely unprecedented scenario. I have no idea what's going to happen here. I would not make a prediction in any way, shape, or form. And although, on the other hand, maybe the Republicans do come out, and if they do come out, then, well, I would say at this point you should prepare for any sort of scenario, and don't try to say, well, maybe if we get them both. It's like, prepare for any single kind of scenario that might happen down here. One Democrat could win, both Democrats could win, both Republicans could win here. I mean, it really is up in the air. I have no idea what's going to happen down here. Because, I mean, it's going to be close. The polling down here, despite the fact you've heard, the polling was bad, the polling missed a lot, it didn't miss big down here. And so when you see polling from down here, and it shows that it's close, that's probably right. I mean, it's really going to come down to whose electorate comes out. And whose electorate is going to be on the game. And if ours come out, great. But if ours don't come out in full and in max, chances are we don't get both. I mean, if it were in my head, it probably at best might be a split, where one Republican wins and one Democrat wins. But I don't know.
Well, let's hope that Stacey Abrams can do what she did for Joe Biden for our Democratic candidates.
She's going to try her best. I'll say that. I mean, she's going to try her damnedest. If she doesn't make it with this, it's not her fault. It's just a runoff in a pandemic. It's like, there's only so much that you could do without putting yourself at risk. So, if she doesn't pull it off, I would not be too hard on her, because she got the presidency, and that's probably more important, in my honest opinion. And again, for the Warnock seat at the very least, this is only for a 2-year period, so we can come back in 2022 and try again. And she also probably might be on the ballot if she's running for governor again. So keep that in mind too. So,
right.
yeah.
So
That's your Georgia report. I'll be back in 2 weeks, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, he's going to be like this until January.
Of course.
I
mean, at this point, I'm getting my absentee ballot probably next week, or maybe the week after. I don't know. Once that's done and over with, my votes will be in the bank. So basically, I'll just be waiting.
Fair enough.
But yeah, I'll be monitoring. I'll be watching. I'm down here, so. But then again, the entire eyes will be on here once it's become clear that all the other dates get certified, and once that happens, that's a wrap. So.
Right. So how much do we want to actually fucking talk about these lawsuits?
I wouldn't want to touch them at this point.
I mean, we can at least laugh at them.
I don't even want to laugh.
I mean, they're pretty ridiculous.
They're nuts.
They're beyond nuts, and it's like,
yeah,
it's literally the Trump campaign lawyers appeasing the boss. because
They're appeasing the I'm saying they're appeasing the boss by throwing everything in the wall and see what sticks, if anything sticks.
yeah, it's just it's absurd at this point, and the judges are starting to get really annoyed.
Yeah. It's like
Like,
what is this about?
like they're being chastised by Republican judges for this.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that's like the bitter acid disappointment of a parent seeing a child who has failed.
Mhm.
That's the bottom line with that.
Yeah. It's like, wait, you want me to do what? And also, it's like, do you know how to do law? Do you need to write notes down? This is what you do as a lawyer. Judges, a judge literally, acted like a law teacher to a guy who used to be a prosecutor until 1988, whenever Rudy G became mayor.
98.
Well, geez, his personal contribution to this has been.
Yeah, I mean,
from what I have heard, very incoherent.
That's one way to put it.
yeah. Well, that's what happens when you have somebody who's been disbarred from the DC bar for not paying his dues. That's what happens. Yeah, it's like these things are just like soul sucking.
So that's the real thing about it.
Yeah. It these things are just soul sucking. You're just like, just want this all to be over with and done with. And you also, and at the same time, you're thinking, 70 million people voted for this? Like 75, 72, 73, 74 million people voted for this? They wanted this?
Yeah.
It's like, I get you hate liberals, and I get you hate Democrats, and I get you hate people like me or whatever, but this? Like, this.
This is the guy you chose.
Yes. Like something, like 90 to 95% of him is stuff that you would get from any other Republican. Why specifically him?
I've been listening to this for 20 years, where family and former friends and all that are, their argument against liberalism is literally Pee Wee Herman. I know you are, but what am I?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, really? It's like, yeah. I really should be saying that to you, because you always say I'm a sheep, but you fall in complete lockstep with zero exceptions to whatever the Republican line is. My opinion changes, but not that you would notice. I'm not saying like you guys literally, but I'm saying that not that my conservative or Republican friends and family members would notice. And they're always like, and it's always the same tired beats. Oh, Marxist Manifesto, socialism bad,
or they keep
capitalism good.
Atlas
Shrugged. And it's like you guys don't have.
Mm-hmm.
All you have is talking points. You don't
Yeah.
have actual information.
Yeah.
And you tell me that I need to do my research and that I need to not be a sheep. What are you doing?
I mean, if you look at Democrats and liberals, the last thing they are is sheep. I mean, what the hell are we fighting with the so-called squad for? You want to talk about not sheep? The Democratic Party, snipes at each other all the time. Meanwhile, on the Republican side, they are literally ring kissing to a T right now about a guy who cannot handle the fact that he has lost.
Mm-hmm.
Like the most childish thing that has ever happened in the presidency.
Which brings me back once again to my I don't understand why they're continuing to court a loser.
Yeah.
Basically
they're
like
of him. They're scared of him because he controls 75, 80, 85, 90% of the Republican Party.
Until he goes to jail.
Well, yeah, exactly. But at the same, but again, it's like until that moment, he has this party by the proverbial balls. I don't know why that's the case. I don't know how that became the case, but that's the case.
It's
They just
so
like
strange.
this guy. They just like this guy who who is basically the living embodiment of what Republicans inside of their own heads and inside their own souls have been like for the last 20 years, which is like, screw everybody but the people who support our position. Screw them, screw everything that they're about, they are not Americans, yada, 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 yada. Republicans for a long time tried to, like, you know, tried to be, like, cute with it and tried to assuade, you know, try to appease them. But then you have this guy who comes in and said, screw appeasing, I'm just going to show it to your face. And like 80, 85, 90% of Republicans go, mm-hmm. About damn time somebody was openly racist, openly xenophobic, openly Islamophobic, openly. No veils, no, you know, no code, no cute language, just in your face hatred and everything that Republicans in their heads have wanted to say but couldn't.
Yeah.
You know, you hear people talk about cancel culture and political correctness. This guy comes along that flips them the bird, and they applaud like, you know, they're like, well, they're sheep.
Right. Well, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how easy it is for him to run the Republican Party Gotti style from Rikers Island.
Well, that's what his children are for. I mean, unless they get the whole family behind bars within the next 4 years, then hell, you can have Junior, you can have Eric, you can have Ivanka run and keep the fire burning. Or maybe Trump calls into, I don't know, whatever network they decide to buy up, calls into that network like Mumia, and do, you know, phone calls from jail, you know, because they can do that. They can telephone. They can do phone. They can phone him up and they can do phone calls with him in jail, tape it, and then put it on the air every night at 8 o'clock. I mean, and I really don't want to go here, but you know, Hitler was in jail and wrote Mein Kampf in jail, so I just like to point that out.
Crickets.
I mean, I don't.
Adam brighten our evening.
Yes. So I didn't want to go there, but I just throw that up. I just had to throw that up. Anyway,
Godwin's law has been invoked.
Yeah, I'm like,
I know. I'm sorry. I
not go down this road anymore. So.
I proudly stand up and apologize for having gone there.
Anyway,
I didn't want to say it was Nazis. I didn't want to say it was Nazis, but it was Nazis.
Move. Next. Out.
You know. Anyway, so
it's like the old aliens joke.
Yeah.
I didn't want to say it was Nazis, but it was Nazis.
Punching out.
Okay.
You know, we can't actually move on until we move on, right?
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Anyway, so
we got to bury that old hatchet.
Yeah. So on the flip side of things, Biden keeps acting like, you know, he won and is moving along with his transition plans, such as they are. Like, yeah,
he got his security briefings from like his own panel of experts, I guess, since the orange one won't let him in on his. But I really question what of value would be gleaned from being in on a briefing that was catered to the orange one, who prefers his security briefings front and back of one page in large font with as many diagrams as possible.
In crayon.
So he's actually getting, the Biden campaign is actually getting security briefings via Harris right now. Because,
because she's on intelligence, isn't she?
Yes, she is.
Yeah, because
she's also on. I think she's also on the Homeland Security Committee too. So,
right, she's on a couple of the select subcommittees that get access.
Right.
You know, but that's not been. But that's not been the big issue.
Mhm.
It's all the COVID stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm like, I think he's also named some more transition officials.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you probably have the rundown on that.
Well, he we already know about Klein.
Mhm.
He has brought in Joe O'Malley Dillon, who was his campaign manager, to be deputy chief of staff because you reward the person who got you the victory. And he's also tapped Cedric Richmond, I think either he's the chairman, no, not the chairman, but a big person within the Congressional Black Caucus. He's bringing him in as pretty much a Valerie Jarrett-like figure who will do outreach and everything else. The left has really hated that because he's from the New Orleans area, which is a pretty big oil area, if you know Louisiana. So yeah, the left has predictably been pretty upset about that, but you're rewarding the people who got you the victory here, and so
Well, and let's be brutally honest. Joe Biden is not a leftist.
no, he's a centrist.
Yeah,
Centrist moderate, damn proud of it. So
yeah. By the way, note to like the leftist organizations, your first instinct is to go to war with your own side because of a transition, because of a couple of officials lobbying records. This is probably the reason why you're not being listened to in the first place.
for some of these, and for some of these organizations, specifically the Sunrise Movement, back in April, they gave Joe Biden an F on climate and said didn't want him, and now all of a sudden they're saying, "We got you the victory, reward us." It's like, nah.
Yeah, it's like, see,
You wanted Bernie.
you don't
Come on.
get you don't get a seat at the table when you keep trying to dynamite it.
Mm-hmm.
You have to work with, you have to get the best person you can, and then you have to work with the best person you can get.
Yeah, I mean, these people are already protesting Biden, and he's not even in office yet.
Yeah, and some of these people are like, you can act before you're in office. It's like, no, you can't. No, he can't.
And I mean, yes, by all means, put on pressure to try to force Biden, or to try to get Biden to make more progressive and whatever decisions and take more progressive positions. He seems to actually be reasonably accommodating to some of those.
Right.
But don't be an ass about it.
Yeah, that's the problem. That's the problem. That's
Right.
what the left has been since even the Obama years. Let's be fair here. They were like, we remember 2010. Stay home to send a message. Well, message was sent.
I mean,
It's like,
Obama.
Yeah.
And if you look at Obama's 450-point agenda when he was taking office, he had a 450-point agenda that he wanted to execute during his presidency. And he wanted to hit the ground running with this, and they kind of did, and then they lost speed because of things we've discussed before. We're not going to get into it again.
Yeah.
But the thing is, that was one of the most progressive presidential agendas in history. And does he get one fucking iota of credit for it? No.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, oh, he's a centrist, he's a corporatist, fuck him. And it's like, no, fuck you.
Yeah. It's like, you were
it's okay to be frustrated if Obama didn't do some things you wish he had done, but seriously, at least you have to give people credit for the good things that they do, in addition to criticizing the bad things that they do or allow to happen.
Right. And it's like, you're not going to get that leftist that you want into office at this current juncture. That's just not a thing that's going to happen. I mean, for fuck's sakes, we're having a dialogue right now of how bad the word socialist is still in the year 2020.
Look, the fact of the matter is that in some parts of this country, when you say socialism, you do not think about Scandinavia or social democracy or socially democratic countries.
No.
Right.
When you talk to certain people, particularly those that hail from Central America, Latin America, and Southeastern Asia, you're not thinking about Norway or Sweden or Denmark or whatever. No, you're thinking about Venezuela. You're thinking about Pinochet's Chile. You're thinking about, all of these. You're thinking about Vietnam. You're thinking about China. You're thinking about all of these other countries.
The big one's Cuba.
And especially Cuba.
Yep.
So that's when you talk. That's why socialism is a very bad thing in certain parts, and you cannot fully embrace it because in certain sections they see that for what it is.
Yeah,
And
the Western Hemisphere does not have a great track record with socialism.
In fairness, no place in the world actually has that great of a record.
Not just the Americas. I mean, again, the Vietnamese. That's also a thing with them. So it's like it's not just the Americas. It's also in Asia as well. So
right.
It's like, it's like the reason we're having this discussion is because yes, Biden beat a socialist, but unfortunately, the right and Republicans filled Spanish language media, Facebook, and other places with a direct connection, and we did not do a good enough job at combating that. And you just can't simply say, "Well, I'm not a socialist," and say it once.
I mean, there are even plenty of people like I know some people who live in non-Florida parts of the country, and I don't think are even of Hispanic extraction that have had their conservative parents worried about the gulag that Biden is going to put them in. the re-education camps for his socialist agenda.
Right, right. And then when I'm talking about the Vietnamese community and some other Latin American communities, it's not just Florida. It's not just Florida where that thing penetrated. It's also in California, in Texas, and in other places where this stuff screwed people over.
This is, of course, stupid, but people are stupid, so some of them believed it.
Well,
they flooded.
They flooded the media. They flooded Spanish language media. They flooded Facebook and otherwise.
They flooded YouTube.
Ironically,
CBS All Access with Trump ads, trotting out this Slavic-sounding woman who's weeping about socialism and how people made her vote in her old country at gunpoint, and how Joe Biden is going to destroy America, and how she was so happy to have Trump as president because it gave a voice to people who oppose socialism and tyranny, and it was fucking ridiculous.
They flooded. To use a phrase coined by a certain Mr. Bannon, they flooded the zone with bullshit, and we didn't respond to it in an effective manner.
Yeah, the ads were very lopsided in areas, especially like streaming services. Now, CBS, I could understand it having a slightly conservative bent, but I'm watching fucking Star Trek, and I'm being flooded with Trump ads.
Yeah, it's not just the streaming services. It's also radio. It's YouTube. It's Facebook. It's places where, low income, minority audiences are usually listening to, are interacting with. It's it is radio. It's YouTube. It's any streaming service you can think of. It's micro-targeted, exactly, and it worked because we didn't micro-target back, and we didn't micro-target back specifically on this issue.
Well, I mean, there were always concerns about Biden's soft Latino outreach, even before the election.
Right. But at the same time, we still didn't do enough to combat it. We could have easily gone into there and flooded the zone ourselves, but we
Right.
didn't do it.
Like, right. There are things to be learned.
Now, I get why we didn't do it, because, to be quite frank, those voters didn't matter. It was voters in Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania we needed to win back. Those 3 states in particular, we won the election with those 3 states. But the problem is that you just don't want to settle. You want to expand the map, and the way that you do that is to flood these zones. And unfortunately, we didn't do that job.
You're not turning Texas blue without the Latino vote.
Right. You're not putting Florida in contention.
Right.
Yes, we flipped Georgia. Yes, we flipped Arizona, but there's a lot more to that. But again, in order to win Latino voters and voters of this kind of variety, you need to answer stuff like, I am a socialist, or I'm associated with socialists, or I would be a Trojan horse for socialists. That's probably the bigger one out of anything else, especially when it comes to down ballot, which is probably the most important thing here. It's not just Biden that they were doing this to. It was also congressmen and women. It was also senators, and so on and so forth, which basically wasn't specifically he's a socialist. It's he or she is going to be a Trojan horse for socialists, or voted with socialists like 85-90% of the time.
Yeah. And it's worth noting, we're not even talking about socialist policies here. We're talking about
itself.
Yeah, we're talking about branding.
Yes, branding is what it's about.
Yeah, and the word socialism is not good. It's like, I don't care what AOC wants to say about that, because look, you don't drop 10 points with the Latino vote, and that not having to be a fucking problem here.
No, I don't care what I like to affectionately call Always on Camera has to say. I don't care what Priya Pal has to say. Look, socialism is a dirty word in areas that we need to win elections.
Right.
Period.
And nobody's saying that, the socialist ideas are bad. It's, for fucking, 50, 60, however many years, socialism has been attached to communism, and that fear still lingers.
Not necessarily communism, neither. Not necessarily communism. It's not all communist states are socialist states. Specifically Central America, they were specifically socialist, not communist. But Cuba's one thing. When you think of Chile,
right? But they've traded out. But they've traded out the terminology. The analogy is fair though, because the terminology has been traded out. We turned the red menace. We turned the red menace away from communism and onto socialism, as if the two terms were interchangeable. And I weep for my civics education every time.
Right. It's gotten screwed over time. People think socialism and communism are the same exact thing. Just like some stupid people think that Sikhs are actually Muslims when they're not. So it's pretty much the same exact scenario here.
Mind you,
whereas very few Muslims actually wear turban.
The actuality of the situation actually does get confusing, because nobody actually had communism. What the Soviet Union and China and all of them had was socialism that was supposed to bridge the gap to communism. It just never went in that direction. But that's a discussion for another day.
The reality is that they had to take a sort of fascistic stance in order to enforce socialism.
More like
to try to lead.
Yeah, totalitarianistic.
Well, they had to take a totalitarian approach to force their people into line.
Mm-hmm.
And they never lifted that.
Well, this is this is one of the many things. This is one of the many issues I have with Twitter leftists, and it's I get it, you hate capitalism, but it's motherfucker, communism as we understand it in the popular consciousness isn't fucking clean.
It's not it's not sustainable, and the only way it was ever made somewhat sustainable is through totalitarian tactics.
Yeah. Not to mention
which is actually completely inimical to the ideals of actual communism.
Right.
Right.
But
But
pure communism, we've had this discussion back on the old show. Pure communism can't exist because human nature constantly interferes with it. Our
Right.
desire to fill the power vacuum with to a singular point.
Mhm.
And it's like, well, we'll go back to biblical references here. When the Israelites said, "Send us a king," and God basically said, "Well, I'll send you a king, but you're not going to like it." Thank you, Douglas Adams, for that reference
Mhm.
that I could steal there. But you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like bottom line was that the moral being told there was that people be careful what you wish for. Yeah, well, that too. Be careful what you wish for, as Kira.
Yeah.
But it's like I'll send you a king, but are you sure you want a king? Because the king I'm going to send you is probably going to be awful.
Mhm.
Yeah, as an abject lesson in being careful.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what it boils down to is
Mhm.
pretty much that.
Yeah.
You try to have communism where everybody is equal according to their gifts.
Mhm.
Human nature ultimately thwarts it.
Right.
well, I mean, there are also other issues. I mean, like one that I've not really seen anyone online reconcile is the fact that, okay, look, Marx's Leninist ideology kind of choked on its own bile, a few
Yeah.
decades ago. Like,
Yeah.
the Soviet Union collapsed.
Mhm.
Eastern Europe ran away from that the first chance they got. China
Yep.
didn't move towards communism; they moved towards capitalism. Like,
Mhm.
and I'm supposed to take this ideology as a serious, anathema to modern day capitalism. I'm like, look, I am no great fan of capitalism, but it's like this shit literally did not work. It was tried and failed on its
Yep.
own.
Yep.
It is very vexing. Like,
Mhm.
As well, and as a lot of democratic socialists would point out to you, democratic socialism does not hate capitalism. And that's
No.
another mistake that the hard left is making is this idea, we should move towards democratic socialism because it will destroy capitalism. Actually, the opposite is completely true.
Yeah,
Democratic socialism wants a democratic control of capitalism, so that way people can vote for or against their own best interests.
I mean, the admittedly definitely oversimplified version I got in the high school classes was basically that socialism is not actually entirely inimical to capitalism, because you're still allowed to like compete and stuff. It's just that the idea is to like not have that happen for like actual necessities.
right.
Mhm.
Well, it's because there's no ethical consumption under capitalism. So democratic socialism regulates capitalism so that way you don't dump sewage directly into your one and only pristine water source that you drink from.
Right.
Norway, Sweden, Finland, like they didn't get rid of capitalism. They have stock markets, they have investments, they have the trappings of capitalism. It's just they also have a very large social safety net as well.
Yeah. And the
Right.
problem is that the Republicans and conservatives have been really effective in making people not see those countries, but see Central America, South America, Southeastern Asia, the totalitarian countries, and have that be in the mindset instead. They've been effective at that, and we failed miserably in trying to make people go, no, that's not what we're talking about here. And unfortunately, it's probably too late to change that at this point.
Well, there are other reasons for that. A
Yeah,
lot of that
but-
gets tied down into race, because
That too. That's a factor
because
here too.
as soon as white people learn that, especially black people are getting assistance like from the government, they ain't having none of that shit.
Not just I would
Well,
propose to not just,
that's because some people and some groups are so racist that they literally don't mind significantly harming themselves as long as it harms people who are different than them more.
It's called dying whiteness.
I would actually propose to you that it's not just white people.
No, it's not just.
I propose to you the fact that probably there were Latino voters this year who were not happy at the fact that black people were getting a lot of attention. And that they
Probably.
hated that fact.
I'm like,
That's
that-
part of the
that-
problem here. I'm
The
gonna
that
say
elephant in the room.
that is something that could be. I am not remotely qualified to chime in on such a thing.
Look, I would just say that should be considered here in the discussion. Like,
Point taken.
it's
We'll
very complex.
we'll accept it provisionally, as none of us are really qualified to speak on
Right.
the subject.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But
I
you know,
would
as far as
just put that to the
I
discussion.
can say, as far as Florida goes, oh no, we know who it was. It's the white identifying Cuban segment that really broke for Trump. Okay, you know,
It was probably some other sub blocks too, but the Cubans were the driver,
yeah,
and they always are.
about like a quarter of, say, the the Mestizo Puerto Ricans or the like black Haitians, but like it was like 60-70% of the Cuban vote.
Yeah.
Went towards Trump. That's that's based off of
terrifying.
local polling.
Yeah.
Terrifying.
And those were the ones that got fed all of the garbage the most, because it was easy to feed Cubans. It was easy to feed them that, because there are too many damn Cubans who, for some ungodly reason, think that all of a sudden, within the next couple of years, all of a sudden, the Cuban population is going to rise up and start doing what they've seen in other countries, or even in this country. They're going to rise up in the streets and rise up against their government. Look, it's not happening. Okay? There's no boycott that you could do. There's no blockade that you can do that's going to lead to that, because unfortunately, Fidel's dead. Raul's not president anymore. They didn't rise up. It's over.
Who leads Cuba these days?
I don't know. That's the thing, isn't it? I mean,
Like-
Raul's in the background running things, probably as a puppet master in their whatever the hell their parliament is. Sure. But a Castro is not president of Cuba anymore. They didn't rise up when Fidel died. They didn't rise up after Raul left. They're not rising up now. They have every right to rise up within the last couple of years because of the stuff that we've done to them in terms of their economy. But have they done that? No. So, and they specifically didn't do it after they lost in the period between losing their Soviet help and then getting Venezuelan help from Chavez a couple years later. That period of time, that could have easily been the time where they could have rose up because of our blockade. Didn't happen. And yet for some reason, the Cuban population thinks that that's going to happen. It's not. It's not. So it's like, you don't want us to change our blockade, yet you somehow think that things are going to be changing anytime soon. They're not. So it's just amazing. And again, I'm done with Florida. I'm done with it. I mean, I'll give them one more chance in 22 because everything's on the ballot in 22. But it's like, this state has snake bitten us so many times, particularly Miami, that it's like, and considering the fact that there's now other states that we can now go into here and try to invest in that isn't Florida, that would still help us win the election. It's I don't know. It's just
All
Florida.
right.
Just anyway.
Kevin, take your blood pressure pill. 'Cause,
I don't know.
I mean, you're right.
I want to be.
I'm not disputing that. It's just,
Yeah, it's like I just want to get
a lot to unpack right there.
Yeah, I just want to get my energy out because it's been a slog the last week and a half, 2 weeks.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm trying to get my energy.
What can we say but Florida man doing the things a Florida can? What's he like? It's not important.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, next.
Well, we got about 10 minutes left, so there's a reason we put up this
Right.
glorious little picture on our card today.
Let's get this in.
So in entertainment news,
let's get directly to the hits that keep on hitting.
because in case you missed this,
This little gem.
reviewed from a graphics card from about 20 years ago, like
20 years ago, I think 25.
So, seriously, I might have seen maybe not this detailed, but it looks like something from the side of a GeForce card.
It came out of it's definitely something out of Final Doom right there.
Yeah. So
I initially assumed that this was an attempt to make him look like a friggin' Liefeld era comics design, but no, I cannot find
not
any
enough pockets and
character
pouches
looking like that.
Yeah, there's not enough
He needs
pouches
more-
on him.
yeah.
Yeah, he needs more pouches and straps.
I said Liefeld era, not Liefeld personally.
No, this is much more objectivist in design.
Yeah.
Because Zack Snyder likes that aesthetic. Not sure if he's an actual objectivist. It wouldn't surprise me. Everything else about this screams. I would, this was made to appeal and buy a 14-year-old.
It looks like something you see at Warhammer 40K.
Except there's no
box on
irony
your
here.
house for that reference.
That's why everyone's kind of, as soon as the new Steppenwolf was revealed, everyone's been making jokes about him. And sure, okay, this is Zack Snyder's artistic vision, such as it is. Very pointy and in not black and white, but it's so fucking desaturated that it might as well be.
I mean, okay, so here's my take. My take is, okay, Zach, no offense, but the visual design of the minor villain in the movie was not the problem with the movie.
Well, yeah, no.
I think I said this in the pre-show. The problem with the movie was squarely in the court of Joss Whedon.
Well, we'll see. We'll see if he's able to repair the movie to some extent with his take on it. All I'm saying is the effort spent on redesigning Steppenwolf to incorporate literally, I think, as much edge as is fucking apocalyptically impossible. Whatever the fuck you name calls someone from Apocalypse.
He was heavily inspired.
Probably not the best use of that effort and money.
Obviously heavily inspired by the barn scene at the end of Twister.
But this is just kind of an encapsulation of the issues that are going on with the so-called Snyder Cut, because it's not a cut. There's actually a very specific meaning when they mean cut. That means it's an edit. And what's going on with
it's not necessarily just an edit. It's another version from if stuff had been cut from the original movie and they put it back in, it would still be a cut.
Right.
But yes, they are filming new
This
stuff.
is fundamentally a new. This is fundamentally a new project. It is based on a mock-up. He did a frame. He did a director's framework of the film as it was originally intended to be, at roughly 3.5 hours long. This new version will now be 4 hours because they decided to put even more shit into it because Warner Brothers was just like, sure, we like setting money on fire.
Okay, and people are wondering why Warner Brothers is investing so much money into this particular project. And the answer lies in HBO Max. Because AT&T is really going all in on the HBO Max. They want...
It is desperation is what's happening here.
Yeah, they're kind of taking the guillotine to the company that actually makes the fucking comics the thing is based on.
Pretty much. Basically, AT&T right now is basically telling the entire world to please, oh God, please be a subscriber to HBO Max. Please. Please subscribe. We don't give a damn if it's $14.95 and it's the most expensive one of these services.
No, I
Subscribe
get
to us,
HBO.
please.
I get
Please.
I get HBO Max for free with my Cox Cable subscription.
Yeah, well, this is about people who are not part of that kind of thing. This is about everybody else. Please subscribe to us. Our company depends on the success of the service. And the
That's
reason
sad.
you know, the reason that you know that this is the case is because this Thanksgiving weekend, their two big cable networks, TBS and TNT, are pretty much going to be running HBO Max programming all weekend. You've pretty much got Warner Brothers now giving up on pushing Wonder Woman 84 as far as they could possibly go, and are now going, well, we're just going to put it in the theaters that are still open. I don't know who wants to do that right now. And then put it on HBO Max because please, oh God, please subscribe to HBO Max.
And
they're basically putting all of their eggs in this basket right now.
As a quick side note, apparently they've decided that Disney Plus needed a parody of the Star Wars holiday special from 1977, and so they have decided to make Lego Star Wars.
That's not, it's actually not necessarily a parody of that. It's basically its own thing because it's freaking Lego.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Anyway,
the Lego Star Wars movie. Look, the Lego movies have historically actually been pretty good, so I'm willing to see what happens.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Mhm.
Speaking of Disney Plus, the play with Zack Snyder's Justice League here is basically to have their version of the Mandalorian. Like, because that's the kind of thing that HBO Max doesn't have. It doesn't have that signature series that you're going to plunk down to get the service for.
No.
Or if for Netflix, something like The Crown or The Queen's Gambit.
Or stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I'm totally standing for the Queen's Gambit because our composer David Stahl did additional music.
I fucking hate that word.
What?
Well,
Which one,
Oh.
Yeah.
well, I got to appeal to the kids here, all right, because we are now a YouTube partner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. Anyway.
Which I should have mentioned at the top of the show, but
things,
I should have mentioned that at the top of the show.
Yeah.
But I'm
as far as we'll conclude things on this note. Fuck you, Disney. And if you want to know what that's in specific reference to, apparently they have come across some new interpretation of copyright law that is really fucking terrifying. Like,
for what?
So they're not paying Alan Dean Foster the royalties he should be getting for his Star Wars work. Apparently, based on the argument that they do not have to pay the obligations of shit that they picked up, like from Fox or LucasArts.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, no, that's not how it fucking works. And if it's how it fucking works, then oh boy, that's going to be that is such a radical redefinition of how copyright law and royalties work that just no.
To be quite frank, honestly, it's not surprising because at this point it's
it's not surprising. Yeah, it's not surprising at all. Fuck them anyway.
Royalties have very little to do with actual copyright law. We're getting into that right now because of the fact that with the YouTube partnership thing, we have to secure streaming and broadcast rights for voice artists and stuff like that. And then there's questions about the SAG and all that stuff. The royalties have more to do with union obligations and stuff like that. It has almost nothing to do with copyright law.
Yeah, that's pretty. Yeah, royalties are a completely different argument.
Because you can do a complete buyout. You can do a one-time buyout, and maybe that's what Disney is arguing. But So I'm not sure how to place my outrage on that. I'd have to read more on the subject.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Yeah, the thing I'm seeing is Walt Disney Co. argue that they have acquired the rights, but not the obligations to Alan Dean Foster's novel. I'm like,
That's a bit weird.
And still,
Are we talking about Splinter
with more money
Splinter in
than
the Mind's
God,
Eye?
a company with more money than God arguing that they don't have to.
yeah.
Wait. Is this based? Is this argument based on royalties for his book Splinter of the Mind's Eye?
Yeah.
Wow. Alan Dean Foster. That's amazing. Well,
I mean, didn't they honestly say that they weren't going to do it? They pretty much were going to do a completely, totally new thing, and that everything from, I don't know, the moment that they bought it was completely irrelevant to the franchise?
Yes, but no.
well,
Everything
I'm curious.
from before is irrelevant unless they choose to use it.
I didn't even
Which
realize that they were
makes
still
it TIE
selling
Defenders
this.
have turned up and such. Admiral Thrawn has turned up and stuff.
I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, were they planning on mining this? Were they planning on mining this book for something for later production? Is that what this is all about?
Who can really say
I
exactly?
mean, who
Yeah.
besides me here has
Honestly,
actually
to be
read
quite frank-
Splinter? Who here besides me has actually read Splinter of the Mind's Eye?
Not
I
me,
know.
because when I was in my Star Wars novel reading phase, it was strongly recommended not to.
Okay.
I know the general
This
geist of
book-
it, but that's about it.
This book is huffing so much glue, I can't imagine that there would be anything from it that these jackals at Disney would want to mine to put into a production, unless that they think that the fandom has huffed enough glue since Ryan Johnson.
I mean, say what you will about Disney and their copyright, tactics. The thing that they know to do most is to make money, and they know what they need to do to make money.
In this book, okay,
Oh boy, here we go.
Luke basically, it's heavily implied that Luke boffs Leia. He is force possessed by the ghost of Obi-Wan Kenobi to do a battle against Darth Vader, where Darth Vader is effectively kind of sort of like he gets his arm chopped off, and there's like and he falls down a bottomless pit, and it's it. Because the whole reason this book was commissioned, thank you for opening this can of worms at the end of the show, but the whole reason this book was commissioned was to be, if Star Wars had flopped in the theaters, this book was supposed to be the straight-to-video conclusion of the saga.
Yeah, this was between New Hope and Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah. Star Wars for glue huffers. So this was designed to be some straight-to-tape piece of shit that had Star Wars not been a giant success in the theaters, that Lucas could have gotten some closure on it, and he commissioned Alan Dean Foster to write this book. This book is the most amazing piece of Star Wars apocrypha ever committed to the page.
For a
But I
value
can't-
of amazing that does not include being actually good.
Right. Oh, it's great. It's fucking amazing, dude. You have no idea. But you have to be completely high in order to fully appreciate it. It took me a monumental effort to get through this book, and it's only about 118 pages.
So what's the outrage again?
What?
I said it's like, so what's the outrage
Okay, so
Yeah. Let's
Okay,
cover
so
that so we can wrap up.
so the outrage is if Disney's allowed to not pay the obligations to Alan Dean Foster, the argument is that that means royalty contracts could effectively be laundered via corporation purchasing.
Well, that's a legit concern. I can see that.
So it's like contract X gets sold to entity Y, and they don't have to engage in royalty Z. So once again, fuck Disney, because I completely.
I mean, they're the reason that we have copyright law as we have it now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, absolutely.
Although frankly, if you're not going to use something specifically for anything, it's like, okay, you could basically pay royalties, but it's like, if you don't have to,
just don't know who's buying this book.
it's like,
Uh,
I mean, if you've made it clear,
I still have a copy of it on my bookshelf.
I mean, you'd have to ask Disney.
I mean,
Like,
if you made it clear that you consider that kind of stuff irrelevant in the grand scheme of things, and if you've made that pretty clear, and you have no intention of picking that off the shelf and using it for anything creatively, it's like, if it's pretty damn clear that you don't have to compensate somebody for work that you're not going to use at all, period. It's not like you're taking some stuff from this and putting it into someplace else, in which case, yeah, you do pay royalties, but if you're not using it at all...
Oh man! If they look, they have truly hit rock bottom. If they have to mine this book
They're
for
not going to mine
ideas,
it. No, they're not touching that. They're not touching that. It's like
That's
I'm saying,
that's hilarious.
what I'm saying. Yeah, it's like what I'm saying.
At this point,
if you're not touching that, you don't have to pay someone if you're not touching something. If you're using like bits and pieces here and putting it over here, then yeah, you obviously have to pay royalties. But if you're not using it, you don't have to pay somebody a single cent.
I would rather see a legit remake of the holiday special. To be honest with you,
yeah.
It would be less of a crack trip, and the cast would have to use a lot less drugs in order to get through it.
Yeah. At the very least, would not have to be canned up to look like an Oompa Loompa. Hi, Mark Hamill.
I'm pretty sure we're past the hour mark at this point, so
yeah. Let's get it out of here at 12 Eastern.
I think we've had way too much fun with this. Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So
Yeah.
that brings us to the conclusion of Last Newsdesk on the left for this week. I'm your host, Mac Paladin. Join us again in 2 weeks after the Thanksgiving break, as we will have a brand new episode for you, and hopefully we'll actually be able to keep monetizing our videos. Until then, thanks for listening and stay safe.